Have you ever found yourself wondering why things seemed perfect, and then, suddenly, he pulled back? He was all in, he was calling, texting, making plans, and then out of nowhere, he became distant. You started questioning what you did wrong. Was it something you said? Something you didn't say? A man doesn't test a woman's worth when everything is going well. He doesn't examine your value in the moments when you're laughing over dinner, cuddling on the couch, or sharing exciting future plans. The true test comes during moments of tension, uncertainty, or emotional distance. It comes in silence, in hesitation, or when things stop feeling as easy as they once did. This is when he begins observing, consciously or unconsciously, how you emotionally respond not to the good times, but to the challenges. He wants to know if you're someone who crumbles the moment the fairy tale pauses. He wants to see if your confidence is rooted in his attention or in your own self-worth. This test isn't about cruelty, it's about compatibility. When a man senses that a relationship is entering deeper waters where the stakes are higher, emotions are more vulnerable, and commitment might be required, his internal radar kicks in. He might start pulling back slightly, creating distance, or testing the emotional balance between the two of you. He may not even realize he's doing it, but he is watching how you handle not getting a text back right away, watching how you act when plans are delayed, watching whether your mood rises and falls based on how available he is in a given moment. This moment is not about you passing or failing. It's about him gathering information. He wants to know whether you're reactive or grounded, whether you can maintain your emotional state even when he's not at his most present. He wants to feel safe knowing that if he commits to you, you won't require him to be your emotional regulator. He's checking if you can stay secure, loving, and connected, even when the relationship hits a speed bump, because anyone can smile and feel secure when everything is going their way. But how you respond to uncertainty, stress, or momentary disconnection reveals more about your emotional resilience than anything you could say in words. It's not about pretending to be perfect, emotionless, or always upbeat. It's about being able to witness your own reactions and choose how to respond. When a man sees that you don't spiral at the first sign of tension, that you can stay present, calm, and connected to your sense of self, he begins to see you not just as someone he desires, but someone he can depend on. That test, that emotional checkpoint, shows him the depth of your character, the strength of your boundaries, and the value you place on your peace. When a man witnesses emotional consistency under pressure, he doesn't just see a partner. He sees someone he can build something lasting with. There comes a moment in almost every connection where a man instinctively pulls back. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. A shift in how often he texts, a delay in making plans, or a sense that his energy isn't quite as present as it was in the beginning. For many women, this is the exact moment panic starts to creep in. Questions swirl, insecurities rise, and a deep urge to fix, chase, or explain begins to take over. But what a man is really watching in that space is not how much you care. It's how grounded you remain when things feel uncertain. This is where the real test lies. The way a woman reacts to emotional space speaks volumes about her inner foundation. When a man notices that you don't chase after him the moment he pulls back, that you're not trying to force closeness or rush clarity, he feels something he didn't expect to feel: respect. Not just for you, but for the way you hold yourself. The truth is, a man doesn't want to be the center of your world. He wants to be a part of a world that's already whole. And your ability to maintain emotional stability, even when he withdraws, communicates that your identity is not built around his attention. This is not about playing hard to get. It's not about being cold or pretending you don't care. It's about understanding that the right person won't be scared off by your calm. When he senses that you're not shaken by his need for space, that you don't lose your emotional footing when the connection pauses, he begins to see you differently. He sees that you're someone who doesn't need constant reassurance to feel secure. You're someone who understands the difference between temporary distance and real disconnection. What most people miss in this moment is that a man often doesn't pull back because he's losing interest. He pulls back because he's overwhelmed, confused, or testing the emotional rhythm of relationship. He wants to know if he can breathe without losing you. He wants to see if he has room to process without being punished. When you respond with self-respect instead of fear, when you don't chase but stay open and grounded, you demonstrate something incredibly rare: emotional sovereignty. That is deeply attractive, not just in a romantic way, but in a lasting, soul-level way. The pullback is a fork in the road. One path leads to desperation and overcompensation. The other leads to self-respect and quiet strength. He will always remember how you made him feel in that uncertain space, whether you became anxious and reactive, or whether you remained present and secure. Because that moment doesn't just test his feelings, it tests yours too. Not your feelings for him, but your feelings about yourself. When a man begins to pull back or withdraw emotionally, it creates a moment of uncertainty that can feel incredibly destabilizing. The instinct for many women is to immediately react by over-explaining, overreaching, or trying to win him back through reassurance or attention. But what a man is actually observing in these moments is not just your reaction to him. He's seeing how secure you are within yourself. He's feeling out whether your sense of peace, confidence, and self-worth is steady, or if it rises and falls based on his behavior. And this tells him everything he needs to know about whether the relationship can thrive in the long term. When your emotional state is constantly dictated by his presence or absence, it becomes clear that your inner sense of value is externally sourced. That's not something a man can sustain, nor does it build the kind of respect that deep connection requires. A secure woman doesn't need a man to be emotionally available 24/7 in order to feel okay. She doesn't personalize every fluctuation in his mood or communication. She trusts in her worth, and she knows that space doesn't always mean danger. It can mean processing, regrouping, or even just being human. This doesn't mean she's detached or unemotional. It means that she's anchored. She can hold space for the connection without losing herself in it. That strength doesn't just attract a man, it calms him. Because many men live with the pressure of being the emotional thermostat in a relationship. They feel like if they're not always on, the whole connection starts to fall apart. But when a man meets a woman who stays emotionally centered even when he pulls away slightly, it's a sign that she's operating from internal security, not external dependency. This is the difference between needing and choosing. A man wants to feel chosen, not needed to fill a void. When he sees that your emotional world doesn't collapse in his absence, that you're still showing up for yourself, maintaining your standards, and living your life fully, he sees you as someone with depth and maturity. It makes him feel safer to come closer, because ironically, when you can withstand the momentary distance with grace, you become more magnetic, not less. Reacting with desperation or fear may seem like a way to bring him back faster, but it often has the opposite effect. It confirms his fear that closeness will cost him his freedom, and that commitment will come with pressure. But when he witnesses emotional stability, when he sees that you're not using his attention as a crutch, He begins to experience you as a partner, not a project. That distinction is everything in the mind of a man, deciding who he wants to invest his heart in. When a man is considering committing to a woman, one of the things he's quietly observing is whether she has a life that is rich and fulfilling outside of him. This isn't about playing games or making him jealous with a packed social calendar. It's about the natural magnetism that comes from a woman who is connected to her purpose, her passions, and her people. Men are drawn to women who are already in motion, who aren't waiting for a relationship to begin living fully. Independence isn't just attractive, it's essential to creating lasting desire. A woman who has her own interests, who invests in her own growth, and who maintains strong friendships and boundaries sends a very clear message. I want you, but I don't need you to complete me. That energy changes everything. It removes pressure. It allows space. It shows that love for her is an addition, not a lifeline. And when a man feels that freedom, he doesn't run from it. He leans into it. Because deep down, he wants to know that you're not placing your entire happiness on his shoulders. He wants to feel like he's joining something powerful, not rescuing something fragile. Many people think closeness comes from constant attention and shared time, but true connection often grows in the space where each person is still whole. A woman who maintains her independence demonstrates emotional maturity. She shows that her identity isn't wrapped up in being someone's partner. It's rooted in who she is, regardless of who is standing beside her. That self-possession is incredibly compelling. It means she's not afraid to disagree, to set boundaries, or to walk away from something that doesn't honor her value. It also sets the tone for a healthy relationship dynamic. When a man sees that you are committed to your own life, your own dreams, and your own growth, he feels inspired to do the same. You elevate each other rather than lean on each other to survive, and in that space respect is born. A man can admire beauty and feel chemistry, but respect is what makes him want to stay. Independence invites respect, and respect lays the foundation for deep emotional intimacy. The mistake many people make is assuming that needing someone deeply means you love them more. But love without individuality quickly becomes entanglement. When your identity is consumed by the relationship, you lose the very thing that made you attractive in the first place. The woman who keeps nurturing her own life, even as she opens her heart to someone else, maintains the spark that drew him in. She doesn't lose herself in love. She brings herself more fully into it, and that presence, that full self-expression, is what allows a man to envision a future, not because she needs him to build it, but because she's already building it on her own, and he wants to be a part of it. There's a critical moment in every relationship where a woman is faced with a choice. Do I speak up for what I need, or do I stay silent to keep the peace? This is where the concept of boundaries enters, and many people mistake boundaries for ultimatums. But they are not the same. An ultimatum is about control. A boundary is about clarity. It's not about manipulating someone into behaving a certain way. It's about honoring your values and communicating what you will and won't accept in your life. When a man is considering whether to commit, he's paying close attention to whether the woman he's with knows how to express her boundaries without guilt or fear. A woman who knows how to set healthy boundaries is not only respected by the man she's with, she becomes deeply attractive to him. Because boundaries tell him that she has standards, that she values herself, and that she isn't willing to sacrifice her peace for the sake of being liked. That level of self-respect speaks louder than any words ever could. It shows him that she's not waiting to be chosen. She's choosing herself first. And from that place she invites a man to step up, not out of obligation, but from genuine desire. When a woman can express her boundaries calmly, directly, and without emotional manipulation, it builds trust. It tells a man that she knows who she is, what she needs, and how she expects to be treated. And perhaps even more importantly, it tells him that she will respect his boundaries too. That she's not trying to mold him into someone he's not, but instead, she's creating a space where both people can show up fully and authentically. Boundaries are not about pushing someone away. They're about protecting the connection. They ensure that resentment doesn't build, that unspoken needs don't become silent expectations, and that both people feel safe to be themselves. A man who is serious about love isn't scared by boundaries. He's comforted by them. They give him a clear framework. They remove the guessing game, and they help him understand the emotional terrain of the relationship. What often happens is that women fear setting boundaries because they're afraid of losing the connection. But the truth is, every time you abandon your boundaries, you teach the other person how to treat you. You tell them, silently, that your needs are negotiable, and while a man may not always consciously realize it, he feels when a woman has compromised herself just to keep him. Over time, that erodes attraction. What pulls him in initially, her confidence, her strength, her energy, begins to fade under the weight of people pleasing. On the other hand, when a woman holds her ground with grace, even when it's uncomfortable, she becomes someone a man can trust, not just with his heart, but with a shared life. He sees that she won't sacrifice herself for the relationship, and in doing so, she becomes the kind of woman who inspires commitment, not by demanding it, but by embodying the standards that naturally invite it. There's a moment in every developing relationship where uncertainty creeps in, where the man becomes unsure. Questions rise to the surface, and the emotional waters get murky. In these moments, more than what you say, it's how you show up that defines everything. A man might not even be able to articulate it, but he's paying close attention to whether you can hold your standard, your energy, and your sense of self when things aren't clear. That's where the test lies, not in whether you can be charming or beautiful or agreeable, but whether you can stay true to yourself when the dynamic feels shaky. It's during that uncertainty that he's deciding whether he's with a partner or a placeholder. When a woman holds her standards quietly, consistently, and without drama, she communicates strength. Not the kind that pushes people away or builds walls, but the kind that says, "I know who I am and I won't lose myself trying to convince you." That presence, that unwavering sense of value, is powerful. A man who is seeking real connection finds it grounding. It tells him that she doesn't need him to validate her worth. She's already done that for herself. It shows that she's not operating from fear, but from clarity. This doesn't mean being cold or emotionally unavailable. In fact, it means being fully present while still rooted in your own truth. You can express interest, affection, even vulnerability, but without abandoning your boundaries or lowering your standards for the sake of keeping someone close. When a man sees that you don't tolerate emotional breadcrumbs, that you don't entertain hot and cold behavior, and that you don't shrink in moments of ambiguity, he feels your strength in a way that words could never convey. It's in those moments that respect is either built or broken. A placeholder waits and hopes and accepts the bare minimum. A partner chooses herself, even if it means walking away. That choice isn't a threat. It's an act of self-love. And when a man witnesses it, He knows he's not dealing with someone who will tolerate half love. He's dealing with someone who will elevate the relationship or exit it. That certainty, that grounded energy, draws him in more deeply because it eliminates confusion. It clarifies the emotional playing field. He knows exactly what she stands for. Uncertainty is a natural part of every relationship, but how you navigate it defines whether you build something real or settle for something temporary. If you bend your standards to maintain comfort, you may keep him for a while, but you'll lose the foundation of real trust and attraction. If you stay rooted in who you are, in what you value, and in what kind of connection you're available for, you show him something rare. You show him that you're not here to be chosen for convenience. You're here to be chosen with intention. That difference is everything, and it's what separates a woman who gets temporary attention from one who earns lasting commitment.